Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. As always, it's me, Jordan Shannon, and Kieran Powell. But today we have a special guest, Mr. Kenneth Benjamin. Thank you so much for joining us, Kenneth. How are you?
I'm very fine. It's a pleasure joining you guys.
No, I appreciate you jumping on with us today, especially on a Sunday. So thanks for taking the time out of your day to come and speak to us about, your life in cricket. We're talking about that and obviously finishing then with the current situation with both Leeward Islands cricket and then obviously the current situation with West Indies cricket. So in terms of obviously starting out, how did it start out and where did your love for cricket sort of come from?
Well, basically, I believe that back in the early 70s, as a youngster, I think cricket was the game that was being played. I believe, the West Indies team was doing fairly okay, and it was every boy's dream, every young boy in the Caribbean dream to one day, be associated or to even play. And so we used to play a lot of cricket in the backyard. Sometimes the mom wouldn't allow it, but every chance we get, whether it's an old milk tin or a bottle, whatever it is, a fruit, whatever it is that we could find. And so I believe that is where we got that passion from. And just love competing against each other, against the next village and so on. And then it grew from there, went into the schools, and it took off from there. I went to join the combined schools in 1970. And it just sort of took off from there. But I always have that love and that passion for cricket. I always wanted to play.
And was you always a quick bowler? Was you always a quick bowler?
Excuse me?
Was you always a quick bowler?
Yes. Ever since I used to run off and bowl and that sort of stuff. So ever since that was what I was normally known for. If you notice my middle names, even my mom probably knew my middle name. Charlie Griffith, off of Charlie Griffith, the great fast bowler from Barbados. I have another brother who is a football coach, incidentally. His middle names are Rohan Kanai. So my mom was very, very much into cricket. She used to go around with the village team with a little tray, a vendor, and sell like snacks and drinks and so on. And she would tuck us along, So we were always around the village cricket and so on.
Nice. Kyle, I'll let you jump in quickly then before I sort of go away again, as I always do.
No, I mean, obviously, Shoes, you're talking about your early days of cricket. Who would have been, I guess, people that you looked up to in Antigua, in the West Indies, that would have made a significant impact on you?
Well, because we only knew the village cricketers, I used to really and truly like a guy that we call Crimpolocks, Clifton Williams, and then our next guy we call Firmly Bartley, because those to me were the best that I've seen. I've never used to watch Antigua play. We didn't have that privilege and so forth. So those two individuals, and these guys, they're old gentlemen now in the 70s, and I've said to them that when I used to watch you guys play at the village level, you guys were like my idols, and they don't believe. They laugh at me because they're saying, how could a guy who went on to play for the West Indies, is saying to us that we used to be his idol. You understand? But I don't think that they understood that they were the ones that I looked up to. To me, they were the best batter, the best bowler on the team. And those two gentlemen, every time I tell them that, they have a laugh. I don't even believe up to today that they believe me.
And I know, obviously, I could see the big sign behind you. Tell the people about, the impact of the village Liberta, but the Liberta Sports Club and what impact that would have had on your life.
Well, the Liberta Sports Club really was formed in 1991. That was 1 year before I made my debut. Before that, it was like the Liberta Sports. It was the Liberta Cricket Club. But we had combined all the clubs in the village and make it one body. But the thing about it is that once that sort of took off, the Liberta Sports Club, the sort of support that I got in terms of the people when I made my debut in 1992, whenever I would play back in Antigua, they would all come down and they would wear a shirt with my portrait on it, and everybody would be shouting, and then you realize, how significant it was for someone, someone else, because there was Baptist before me, but there was someone else from the village that grew up and played their cricket in the village. But I don't think Eldin Baptist played his early cricket in the village. He went to St. John's. And so I realized that I have this responsibility, not just to go and make the village proud, but to come back also and to continue help building the community and the club and see if we can, get a couple more guys from the community and the village to come through. And that we did. And Liberta Sports Club itself have played a great role in terms of that. The facilities have been improved significantly. Funny enough, the grounds that we have that now, Kieran, I have never played on it. When I played on it, it was like a goat pasture.
Wow.
Some stones and some trees here and a little pitch in the middle and so on, But once I realized that, look, if we're going to make it, better for other players, we have to upgrade the facilities. Yeah. And so we started the upgrading in 1997.
Right. And I know, obviously, I know personally some of the other guys that have come through, but could you mention some of the other players that have come through the Liberta Sports Club from since, obviously, yourself?
Well, obviously, there is the big guy, Raheem Jimbo Cornwall. Then you have Hayden Walsh Jr., even though he started off in the USA. Then you have Karima Gore. You have people like Kofi James, and there are a couple of guys who probably, even though they didn't make it to the top, people like the Walsh boys, Hayden Walsh and Vaughn Hungry Walsh, and so on. And then now there is Javier Spencer. So these guys, came through the Liberta Sports Club, and now they're doing well for themselves at the regional and sometimes with Raheem and Hayden at international, and Karima as well, who plays for the USA at times.
Yeah.
And then shows if we look at Antigua cricket on a wider level, obviously we'd have had, in my opinion, probably the greatest batsman to have ever played the game come out of Antigua in Sir Viv Richards. You've had Sandy Roberts, Sir Richard Richardson, Curtly Ambrose. What was it like growing up with and playing with some of these guys?
Well, I started with the Leeward Islands team in 1989, and those guys were not there. Viv was away on tour, Richie, Ambi, Winston, and so on. But when I made my debut for Antigua in, I think it was 1984. So Andy, I think he has just finished his international career, and he played one game. That was against St. Kitts. He played one game with us. So I played one game with Andy Roberts in the Leeward Islands tournament, and he didn't play any other game. But I can say I played one with him. But then as we go along with the Leeward Islands team, Viv came back as the captain in 90. That was a year when the Leewards won all 5 matches. First time that was done. And, it was something to look up to, because once these guys were around, you always felt that, hey, there was no pressure on me. You were a young player, and they were giving you the opportunity to go and express yourselves. The pressure, all the hard decisions and so forth, that's their responsibility. And so it was good, and it gives you an understanding how the system works. You were a youngster, go in, put in your part, play your part, do the hard work, and these guys will sort of tell, and help you to realize your potential and assist you whenever they can in terms of advice, in terms of equipment, which those days we didn't have and so on. So it was really good growing up and playing with these guys and getting an understanding as to what I will have to do to continue that trend when my role as a senior player comes around.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this or if you even remember, but I remember, I think it was either 1996 or 1998, somewhere along there, when my father was the manager of the Leeward Islands team, and you guys were playing a game at the ARG, and I think he had flown me up for the weekend or something. And I remember seeing yourself in the dressing room, and you're always, from since those days, I can remember you're always like a prankster. You'd always come around if anyone had their sons or their kids in the dressing room and stuff, So those are early memories that sort of inspired me to want to play cricket, So I think that I always tell that story and a story of seeing Ambrose bowl a spell in a trial match in Nevis where he only 2 balls touched the bat and both of them went to first slip, and then he walked off the field after the spell and said he's ready, So, guys like yourselves really played a big part in impacting me, and that's what I hope to try and do
Yeah.
for generations going forward. So personally, I'd like to thank you for that. But in terms of your international career, do you feel as though it was sort of, I guess, maybe cut short, or do you feel as though like you'd have played as many matches as you'd have hoped?
Well, I think so. Just the other day, I tell you what. 2 years ago, I think we were in South Africa. I was the bowling coach, and Alzari Joseph, he was asking me what injury I got, why I stopped playing. I said I wasn't injured, I was dropped. And he said, with that record, I said, well, I told you I was dropped. I just believe in those days, and it is still the insularity was so strong, is that, everybody who gets in, they were trying to see how they can get in somebody from their island. And when I look back at the era when I played most of my 26 test matches with Ambrose and Walsh. And at times it was either Bishop or Winston Benjamin. So I always saw myself as a junior bowler looking to take over from one of these greats. And that was the natural progression. We always have two senior bowlers, and you always have two guys learning, looking to take over that role, and two new guys coming in. When Winston and myself were kicked out, because that's what it was, they actually really kicked us out. And then Ambrose and Walsh stopped shortly after. West Indies found themselves in a situation where you have four young fast bowlers, none of them probably good enough to spearhead. And so we were in a rut for quite a number of time, Kieran. And it was just this morning I was saying to Ricky Christopher, I say, since Ambrose and Walsh stopped playing, this fast bowling attack is probably the best that West Indies have had. So this is about like 20 odd days, and I think this was because they broke what was working. If Winston and myself had continued on, and when Ambrose and Walsh had eased out, we were the two senior bowlers, then you'd have 4 or 5 young fast bowlers competing for the next two places. That would make it really competitive.
Yeah.
But they got away from that, and we suffered the consequences. And so I believe that I felt that I still have another 4 or 5 years in me. I went to South Africa after for a couple of seasons and did really well until I damaged my elbow. They even sent and asked me to make myself available West Indies cricket when I was in South Africa, but they didn't want to buy my contract out, so I told them to sort it off. So I believe that they knew as well that I was still good enough to play, but it was just a matter of, quite frankly, not hiding it, maybe too many small islands in the team. Maybe it's time that we try to get some more of our guys into it, and we're probably still paying the consequences because of a lot of the insularities that took place early in the 2000s and so on.
So what do you think of the current state of West Indies cricket then? Obviously, knowing and experiencing it as a player, seeing it as a coach recently, and still being in and around the cricket.
What do I think of it? Nothing.
Yeah.
It is really sad. It is really sad. I believe that when you look at what has really happened, a lot of the things that we accuse the Barbados and the Jamaica and so forth, and the Guyana and Trinidad, as small islands, we are now seeing it. Now that you have the guys from the Windward Islands in charge, we are now seeing it. What is really sad, Kieran, is that when I was in South Africa a couple of years ago as a bowling coach, I remember the head coach, Coley, had said to me that he's thinking that the board wants to split the coaching roles. They want to have a separate white ball coach and a red ball coach. So the staff may have to be shared between both coaches. How did I feel? I said, well, fine, I don't have an issue with that. If that's the way that they want it. And it happened. And 18 months later, they revert not only to one coach for 3 formats, somebody without any experience, but he's also the lone selector. Now, if that is not insularity, if that is not going backwards, then I don't know what is. And I think The cricket has not been doing well before that, and now it is actually worse.
Yeah.
It is actually worse because I don't believe anybody understand what is the plan now. It seems very ad hoc that anything goes. Once, it seems to me like if Darren Sammy is running West Indies cricket, it's like he's pulling the strings behind the scene, and the president and the cricket ops and so forth are the puppets. It seems very much that way to me. I could be wrong, but on the outside, as someone like you mentioned, who has played and who has been a part as a coach, and I've been coaching with the West Indies team for a long time. Since 2004, I was in South Africa and Zimbabwe with Gus Logie. I was around with the female team when they came to Antigua first, when the board moved to Antigua, and the female team start coming and so I've been around a while, but this is something that I've never seen before. I think we're at a very, very low point. I don't even think we're at a crossroad anymore. We actually took a turn at the crossroad. We're actually going down, and I think it needs addressing. It needs arresting. It needs assistance, and I'm not sure, based on the reactions that I'm seeing, calling on Viv and Clive like to come to a meeting. I don't know what they're gonna say, what they're gonna do, but I think that they need some young, fresh minds. If I were Cricket West Indies, I would get some professionals, business people, young, and also get some fresh, young cricketing technical minds in and have them look at not just the senior team, because I think that is a mistake we've been making over the time, Kieran.
Yeah.
We keep addressing the problems that the senior team have, the men's senior team. And what we don't understand, these problems just didn't happen when these guys got to the senior team. This problem occurs because where they're coming from is not well structured, it's not well nurtured, and it is not well supported. If we don't put youth structures in place, put academies in all the islands, female programs, make sure that these pathways are clear and well supported, when these guys reach to the West Indies team, what sort of quality they're going to have. All they're going to be interested in is to go out, make some money, and hey, if West Indies don't pick me again, fine. I've stepped up to the level. People at the international scene now giving me a little contract here or there. So West Indies cricket becomes secondary. We have to change the mindset. We have to change the culture. And we have to do it from a very early age.
Now, I think you hit some important points there, because I think it was probably 2 weeks ago we talked about there not being a structure. I mean, I know personally, from my experience as a franchise cricketer with the Leeward Islands, that there'd be many a time that you don't have a facility to practice. And then I saw, as of recently as last week, Hayden Walsh would have put out something in the Antigua Observer. I hope that people go and check that out, because those problems still continue to happen when the franchise has moved from St. Kitts to Antigua. I don't think Antigua is short of cricket facilities. So what is your take on what's happening there from a Leeward Islands level, and someone obviously that's in Antigua where the franchise is based?
Yep.
Well, I have to look at the head. I have to look at the head. The thing about it is that sometimes, and I'm sure you have played, and our good friend there, I'm sure you have worked with people who you're not friends with, maybe who we don't even like. But the important thing is that you're a professional. When you turn up to the office, you have to hold hands and make sure the problem is solved and everything is in place for the work and for your professionalism and for all of that. And when you finish working, you go home. The other person goes home. You don't call them. You all don't go out for a drink. But tomorrow morning, you come back and it's the same thing. You're back together working for one cause. What we are having here and what we are seeing here is a very amateurish, childish kind of behavior from the leadership of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that I can speak to that more than anybody else, because as someone that played for the Leewards for such a long time, it was just a situation where I didn't receive a phone call again when the team went back into camp. So
You understand what I'm saying? So I am just saying that what we need is maturity and growth. And I heard your comments the other day, and you made a very important point that 26 years, the president of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board have been a director of West Indies Cricket Board and now Cricket West Indies. And when you look at what is happening in the Leeward Islands, it begs you to wonder if he picked up anything from the other directors who were better structured, who were better organized for all these, because Leeward Islands cricket is in shambles. If you notice, who was appointed chairman of selectors and now I think cricket operations officer. This guy Samuel Best Spencer never even played for Antigua, and in his 70s. Again, I don't have any issue with guys at that age, but I think he has gone past that time, that connection between the current players, the modern thinking and all of that and so on. And so you need to get people who understand what is required, not people that remember what happened 40 years ago and what they used to do. People who accept the fact that I am here for the betterment of the players and the cricket. Very important. Not to throw my weight around, not to say, oh, this is the way I want to do it, and so on. And these are the type of languages that we're hearing, rather than saying, gentlemen, what can I do to make you guys, give us your best performance? Tell us what you want me to do as a cricket director, so that everything can be in place, so that you guys can be accountable, so that when you don't perform, you can say, hey, everything was given to us. We got everything that we wanted. So we can't point any fingers. But when you are saying there, Kieran, that facilities are not readily available and guys can't get to put in the work that they want to put in and so forth, you don't expect them to perform at optimum level, because you're preparing them substandardly and it messes with their mentality. And so when you look at that and you see who is in charge of making sure that the players get what they want, you realize that Leeward Islands cricket is not just going backwards. It is falling apart. Yeah. So imagine you're going backwards and falling apart as well. That is crisis.
So just the last question, because I know it's Sunday and you've given us a lot of your valuable time on a Sunday. I don't want to keep it too much longer. So just my last question, and a very simple one. What next? How do we fix Leeward Islands cricket? How do we fix West Indies cricket?
I tell you what, Kieran, we can't fix West Indies cricket unless we fix Leeward Islands cricket first. That's me and you. Me and you can't fix Leeward Islands cricket unless you go back and fix Nevis cricket and I fix Antigua cricket. So I am calling on the past players in every one of these Leeward Islands. We need to look at our association and to seriously, come together as the people who love cricket and still have the passion and want to see the change, and make sure we get the changes that is required, not for us, for the cricket and the cricketers. We need to get people on the local association who stop believing that the cricket is about them. We need to let the players know, look, this is about you guys. I am only here so that I can try and make you guys the best you can be. So you have to tell me, what is it that we can do? If we're not going to speak to the players in that way and let them understand that we are responsible for making sure you have what you want, so that we can hold you accountable when you don't perform or you don't give us your best. And I'm talking about people who don't want to go on a show. Every time a test match comes, maybe turn about the venue with a tag around our chest, ABCA member and so forth. Kieran, I don't even go to test matches in Antigua. I go early to see what the coaches are doing, to see if there's any new equipment out and so forth, and then I go home to relax. What I'm interested in is the development. So if I'm on the association, it is not to go to test matches. It is not to go to a test match to show myself. It is to go there and to make sure that things are in place for the under 10 boys and girls, under 13 boys and girls, under 15, 17, the senior national team, and then hope that all the islands in the Leeward Islands, we have a very similar program simultaneously. So when it is time for the Leeward Islands board to meet, all the directors, they come with the idea, it is now time for us to turn our attention on moving Leeward Islands cricket forward. Not for me going to a meeting and feeling important and going on the news and say, well, you know, we have this meeting and it was very good. And so nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
If you check the real cricket countries, nobody even know who is their president.
Correct.
Nobody knows who is the president for England Cricket Board now, Australia or India. That is not important. And they don't think it is important either. What is important is that they are putting in the work to making sure that the cricket and the cricketers are well looked after and they can go and represent their countries well. That is what I think should be next. But then, who am I?
Well, that's the problem. They don't let like that. That's exactly it. Yeah. Wow. I'm just sat here, just wow.
Shoes, I think you touched on everything that needed to be touched. So just from us, we would like to thank you for coming on. I think that, you know, it seems as though we get very good traction across the Caribbean, and I think that your thoughts will be wide reaching, and hopefully there could be some change. Hopefully one day I'll be West Indies Cricket Board president as well, and I'll definitely get you involved because I know of your tactical skills, your biomechanical skills in terms of working with fast bowlers, etc. So thank you again for your time. We appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me. And anytime, you know, I once when I have the time, you guys can always reach out. Have a good day.
So much.
Thank
No,
you.
I really appreciate you speaking so honestly and everything. Like from my perspective, thank you for joining. It's a privilege. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. Keep liking, keep subscribing, and keep your comments flying in, and Karen will get back to you. So thank you so much, Kenneth, for joining us. Much appreciated.